Have you noticed something strange? The more you explain yourself, the less people seem to respect you. You stay calm, you try to be reasonable, and somehow, you're still the one being talked over, dismissed, or subtly disrespected. Most people think respect is earned by speaking louder, arguing harder, or proving their point. But that instinct is exactly what keeps them stuck in weak positions. Every emotional reaction hands control to the other person, even when you believe you're defending yourself. Stoic wisdom teaches the opposite. Power doesn't come from noise. It comes from restraint, from knowing when silence speaks louder than words, and when walking away says more than any explanation ever could. In this video, I'll show you 6 silent moves. No insults, no drama, no aggression, that instantly shift the power dynamic and command respect without saying a word. Because the moment you stop reacting, people start recalculating how they treat you. Silent move. 1. The silent stare. There is a moment when someone disrespects you that feels almost unbearable. A joke that cuts too deep. A comment meant to shrink you. An interruption that signals you don't matter. In that instant, your body tightens, your mind races, and every instinct urges you to respond immediately. You want to explain yourself. You want to defend your worth. You want to say something, anything to restore balance. This is exactly the moment where most people give their power away. The silent stare is not about intimidation or arrogance. It is about refusing to react on impulse. When you hold eye contact and say nothing for a few seconds, you disrupt the expected script. The other person is prepared for words, emotion, or justification. Silence gives them none of that. Instead, it places the weight of the moment back onto them. Disrespect feeds on reaction. It survives on emotional movement. Raised voices, nervous laughter, rushed explanations keep it alive. When you remove that fuel, the behavior has nowhere to land. The silence becomes a mirror, forcing the other person to confront what they just did without distraction. Many feel exposed in that space. Some become uncomfortable, others quickly retreat. This is not a weakness, it is restraint. Think about how often you've tried to smooth things over by speaking quickly or smiling when something didn't sit right. Those responses quietly train people how to treat you. They learn that crossing your boundaries costs them nothing. The silent stare rewrites that lesson without a single argument. Imagine a meeting where someone cuts you off mid-sentence. Instead of rushing to reclaim your words, you pause. You look at them calmly. 3 seconds pass, then you continue exactly where you left off. No anger, no apology, no explanation. The room shifts, attention returns to you. The interruption loses its power. What changed wasn't your volume, it was your presence. Stoic discipline teaches that control begins internally. You cannot control another person's behavior, but you can control your response to it. When you choose silence over reaction, you demonstrate mastery over yourself. And that mastery is felt immediately by others, even if they don't consciously understand why. The silent stare communicates something words cannot. I am aware. I am grounded. I'm not shaken by you. This calm unsettles those who rely on dominance or provocation. It signals that their tactics no longer work here. To practice this, start small. The next time you feel dismissed or talked over, pause before responding. Breathe once. Hold eye contact. Let the moment breathe. Then speak only if it adds clarity, not defense. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is proof you are breaking an old pattern. Over time, people will sense the difference. They will slow down around you. They will choose their words more carefully. Not because you demanded respect, but because your silence made disrespect too costly. Silence, when chosen deliberately, becomes a boundary no one can miss. This is how authority is built, moment by moment, choice by choice. Silent move. 2. Silence as a response. There are moments when someone disrespects you not with loud aggression, but with subtle provocation, a sarcastic comment, a passive-aggressive remark, a message designed to poke, test, or drain you. In those moments, the instinct to reply feels almost automatic. Your mind starts composing the perfect response. You want to correct them, defend your intentions, or prove you are not weak. But here is the quiet truth most people never learn. Responding is often exactly what the other person wants. Silence, when chosen intentionally, is not avoidance. It is a refusal. It is the decision to not participate in a dynamic that lowers your position. When you respond to disrespect, you validate it as something worthy of your energy. When you don't, you deprive it of oxygen. Disrespect survives on engagement. It feeds on reaction. A sarcastic comment unanswered loses its sharpness. A baiting message left without reply collapses under its own weight. Without your response, the other person is forced to sit alone with their intention. That silence exposes far more than any clever comeback ever could. Think about how many times you've replied just to clear your name. You explain, you justify, you try to be understood. Yet instead of earning respect, you feel smaller afterward, as if you gave something away. That feeling is not imagined. It is your intuition recognizing a loss of inner authority. Stoic wisdom reminds us that not everything deserves a response. Epictetus taught that external events do not disturb us. Our judgments about them do. When you choose silence, you are reclaiming your judgment. You're saying, without words, this does not control me. Picture a message that once would have pulled you into hours of emotional exchange. This time, you read it. You pause. You do nothing. No typing, no explanation, no closing statement. At first, the urge to respond feels intense, almost physical. Then something unexpected happens. The tension fades. Your nervous system settles. You realize you are still intact. That moment is power. Silence communicates boundaries more clearly than argument. It signals that access to you is conditional. Not everyone earns your attention. Not every comment earns your reply. This shift changes how people interact with you over time. They sense that their words must carry weight to reach you. To practice this move, use what can be called the delayed silence rule. When a message or remark triggers you, wait. Give yourself 24 hours before responding. Most of the time, you'll realize no response is needed at all. The clarity that follows silence is often the answer. People who rely on provocation grow uneasy around calm, non-reaction. They lose leverage. They lose rhythm. Some will escalate. Others will disappear. Both outcomes reveal the truth. Silence does not mean you are afraid. It means you are selective. When you stop answering every call to conflict, you teach others how to approach you. And slowly, without confrontation, disrespect begins to fade. Not because you fought it, but because you outgrew it. Silent move. 3. Stop explaining your choices. There is a quiet habit many thoughtful people fall into without realizing it. They explain, they clarify, they justify their decisions, even when no explanation is truly required. At first, it feels reasonable. You want to be understood. You want to avoid conflict. You want to show that your choices make sense. But over time, something subtle happens. Each explanation places you in a lower position, as if your life decisions are open for review and approval. Excessive explanation turns your autonomy into a debate. When someone asks, "Why did you do that?" it is not always a curiosity. Often, it is evaluation disguised as concern. The moment you rush to defend yourself, you accept the role of the defendant. You step into a courtroom that never needed to exist. Stoic philosophy teaches a hard but liberating truth. You are not obligated to justify rational choices to people who are not responsible for your life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily not to waste energy on imagined judgments. The more you explain, the more power you give to opinions that do not deserve it. Think back to a time you explained yourself at length. Maybe you changed careers, ended a relationship, set a boundary. You spoke carefully, hoping they would understand. But instead of relief, you felt exposed, smaller, as if your inner certainty leaked out through too many words. That feeling is a signal. Strong boundaries are quiet. They do not require speeches. When you stop explaining, you force others to face a new reality. Your decisions stand on their own. No footnotes, no defense, just presence. Imagine being asked why you said no. Instead of offering a long justification, you say calmly, "That's what works for me." Then you stop talking. The silence that follows is uncomfortable, not for you, but for them. They expected negotiation. They received finality. This is not arrogance, it is self-respect. People who sense weakness often probe with questions. They look for openings. Every added explanation becomes an opening. When you close the door with simplicity, they adjust. Some push harder, others back away. Either response reveals their intent. To practice this move, choose one sentence and commit to it. A closing sentence, something neutral and complete. "I've decided. This is what I'm doing. That's not for me." Say it once. Say it slowly. Then let silence do the rest. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. You may worry about seeming cold or rude. That fear comes from old conditioning, from believing you must earn permission to live as you choose. But clarity is not cruelty, and firmness is not hostility. Over time, something changes. People stop interrogating you. They sense your certainty before you speak. Your words become fewer, but heavier, more deliberate, more respected. You don't lose connection by explaining less. You lose confusion. When you stop narrating your life for others, you reclaim authorship. And nothing commands respect more quietly than a person who knows when to speak and when to stop. Silent move. 4. Strategic distance. There is a form of disrespect that doesn't arrive as an attack. It arrives as overfamiliarity. Constant access, the quiet assumption that your time, attention, and emotional energy are always available. When you tolerate this, people don't feel closer to you. They feel entitled to you. And entitlement slowly erodes respect in ways arguments never could. Strategic distance is not punishment, it is recalibration. It teaches others how to approach you without ever needing confrontation. Most people believe respect is built by being present at all times, by replying quickly, by always showing up. But availability without boundaries communicates a dangerous message, that your time has no cost. When something has no cost, it is rarely valued. Stoic wisdom reminds us that control begins with choice. You choose where your energy goes. You choose who has access to you. And when you stop overextending, the power dynamic begins to shift naturally. Think about someone who takes you for granted. They message whenever they want. They interrupt your schedule. They speak casually in ways that feel diminishing. Notice how often this happens only because you allow it. Not intentionally, but through habit, through silence in the wrong moments. Strategic distance changes that pattern quietly. It does not require an announcement. It does not require an explanation. It requires consistency. You respond less often. You stop being immediately available. You keep conversations shorter. You share less of your inner world. At first, this feels uncomfortable. You may fear being misunderstood or losing connection. But what you are really losing is false closeness. The kind that exists only because you were always there to maintain it. Distance creates space for reality to emerge. People either step forward with respect or they fade away. Both outcomes serve you. From a Stoic perspective, This is emotional discipline. Seneca warned against giving too much of oneself away, because what is scattered cannot be protected. Strategic distance gathers your energy back into your control. Imagine reducing contact with someone who subtly disrespects you. No dramatic exit, no explanation, just fewer replies, fewer favors, fewer emotional investments. Over time, their tone shifts or their presence disappears. Either way, clarity replaces confusion. This is not coldness, it is self-order. To practice this move, audit your access points. Who can reach you instantly? Who receives your emotional labor? Choose one relationship where you feel drained or diminished. Create a small distance. Delayed responses. Say no without explanation. Protect your time. Watch what happens. People who respect you will adapt. People who use you will resist. That resistance is information. Strategic distance restores balance without conflict. It removes you from unhealthy dynamics while preserving dignity. And most importantly, it teaches others that respect is the price of closeness. When you stop overgiving, you stop being overlooked. When you create distance, your presence gains weight. And when your presence has weight, disrespect loses its place. Distance also gives you back time to hear yourself think. In that quiet, you begin to notice how often you are shrinking to keep others comfortable. You see patterns you once ignored. You recognize which connections were built on convenience, not mutual respect. This awareness is not bitter, it is grounding. It allows you to choose relationships consciously instead of reactively, and from that grounded place, respect stops being something you chase and becomes something that naturally follows you. That shift marks the moment you reclaim authority over your life fully and quietly. Silent move. 5. Calm posture and presence. Before anyone hears your words, they feel your presence. Long before an insult is spoken or respect is granted, your body communicates a message you may not even realize you are sending. This is why posture and presence are silent forces of authority. People do not only react to what you say, they respond to how grounded you appear while saying nothing at all. Disrespect often targets uncertainty. Slouched shoulders, restless movements, rushed speech, or averted eyes quietly signal vulnerability. Not weakness of character, but a lack of inner order. And people who sense disorder feel permission to push, interrupt, or dominate. Calm posture interrupts that instinct immediately. Stoic philosophy emphasizes inner order as the foundation of outer conduct. When the mind is steady, the body follows. Marcus Aurelius wrote about maintaining composure amid chaos, not as performance, but as alignment. Calm presence is not something you fake. It is something you practice until it becomes natural. Think about a time you felt completely centered. Your breathing was slow, your movements were deliberate, your attention was not scattered. In those moments, people treated you differently. Conversations slowed, interruptions decreased, even difficult personalities adjusted their tone. That shift was not accidental. It was your presence doing the work. Calm posture sends a clear signal. I am not in a hurry. I am not threatened. I am not seeking approval. This quiet confidence creates psychological friction for those who rely on intimidation or chaos. They lose their advantage when they cannot provoke a reaction. This does not mean becoming rigid or cold. True calm is relaxed, not tense. Shoulders open, spine upright, chin level, eyes steady, movements unhurried. These are not cosmetic changes. They are physical expressions of self-respect. To practice this move, start with awareness. Notice your body when you feel disrespected. Do you lean forward defensively? Do you shrink? Do you fidget? These reactions happen before thought. Bringing attention to them is the first step to changing them. Next, slow down. When tension rises, reduce your pace by half. Speak more slowly, move less, breathe deeper. This alone can shift the entire dynamic of an interaction. People mirror energy, even unconsciously. When you slow down, others often follow. Calm presence also means being fully where you are. No checking your phone, no scanning the room for escape, no nervous gestures. Presence communicates that you are comfortable in your own skin, and comfort is magnetic. Over time, this practice reshapes your inner world. You begin to feel less reactive, less rushed, less pulled by other people's emotions. That internal stability becomes visible, and visibility creates authority. You do not need to announce boundaries when your posture already enforces them. You do not need to raise your voice when your presence already fills the space. Calm presence becomes a silent filter. Those who respect it draw closer. Those who do not feel uneasy. This is the paradox Stoics understood deeply. The more centered you become, the less you need to prove yourself. The less you need to prove yourself, the more respect you command. Presence is not about dominance. It is about alignment. When your body, breath, and attention move as one, disrespect has nowhere to land. It slides off, unable to find friction. And in that quiet stability, you reclaim something essential: the right to occupy space without apology, without performance, and without fear. That is real power. It is learned slowly, reinforced daily, and strengthened through intention, until calm becomes your default state, rather than a reaction borrowed from others under pressure always. Silent move. 6. Walk away without closure. There comes a point when continuing to explain yourself no longer protects your dignity. It erodes it. When disrespect repeats itself, the most powerful response is not a final speech, not a dramatic exit, and not one last attempt to be understood. It is walking away quietly, without closure, and without looking back. Most people crave closure because it promises relief. They want the last word, the apology, the acknowledgement that proves they were right. But closure, when demanded from the wrong people, becomes another form of dependency. You hand them the authority to decide whether your experience was valid. Stoic wisdom teaches something harsher, yet freeing. Closure is not given, it is chosen. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that peace comes from withdrawing judgment, not from winning agreement. When you walk away without closure, you reclaim the final authority over your emotional life. Think about the relationships or situations that drained you the most. How often did they end with endless conversations that changed nothing? How often did explanations invite more disrespect, not less? There is a quiet clarity in recognizing when dialogue has become a trap rather than a bridge. Walking away without closure is not avoidance. It is discernment. It is knowing when engagement no longer serves truth or growth. Silence, in this case, is not passive. It is decisive. Imagine choosing not to send the final message, not correcting the last misunderstanding, not defending your side one more time. The urge to explain will rise sharply. You may fear being misunderstood or painted unfairly. But notice what happens when you resist that urge. The anxiety peaks, then passes, and underneath it, a deeper calm appears. That calm is self-loyalty. People who rely on manipulation or dominance often unravel when denied closure. They expect pursuit, they expect a reaction. When neither comes, they are left alone with their behavior. You do not need to teach them a lesson. Life will do that far more effectively than words. To practice this move, commit to 3 rules. No reacting, no justifying, no checking back. Once you step away completely. This is not punishment, it is protection. Every return reopens the wound. Every explanation invites another cut. Walking away also creates space for grief. You may mourn what you hoped the relationship or situation could become. That grief is honest. It deserves respect. but it does not require re-entry. Healing happens forward, not sideways. Over time, you will notice a shift. Your energy returns. Your thoughts become clearer. You stop rehearsing conversations that will never happen. The mind quiets when it no longer waits for permission to be at peace. This silent move changes how you see yourself. You stop measuring your worth by how others respond. You stop outsourcing your closure. You become the one who decides when something ends. Disrespect loses its power when it no longer gets a stage. Walking away without closure removes the audience. And without an audience, the performance collapses. You do not need the last word to win. You need self-command. When you choose peace over explanation, you choose yourself. And that choice, repeated enough times, becomes a new identity. The Stoics understood this deeply. Freedom is not found in controlling others, but in releasing the need to. When you walk away quietly, you do not lose anything essential. You gain sovereignty. And sovereignty, once claimed, cannot be taken from you again. This is how quiet endings become powerful beginnings, shaping a life guided by intention, restraint, courage, and unwavering inner clarity within yourself. Here's the truth most people never learn. Respect is not something you demand. It is something you demonstrate, quietly, consistently, and without emotional noise. Today, you've seen 6 silent moves rooted in Stoic wisdom. You learned how silence disrupts disrespect, how restraint shifts power, how presence, distance, and self-command speak louder than arguments ever could. And finally, how walking away without closure protects your dignity when words no longer can. None of these moves require aggression. None require proving anything. They ask only one thing from you: discipline over your reactions. But knowledge alone changes nothing. The real transformation begins when you practice. The next time you feel dismissed, pause instead of reacting. The next time you're provoked, choose silence. The next time you're tempted to explain yourself, stop. Each small choice strengthens your inner authority. Stoicism is not about winning conflicts. It is about mastering yourself so deeply that conflict loses its grip on you. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this message resonated, take a moment to like the video. It helps more people find clarity instead of chaos. Subscribe if you're committed to building quiet strength and unshakable self-respect. Until next time, remember this: your silence is not weakness. It is discipline, and discipline is power.